So when we think of character, here's some definitions of character: the mental and moral qualities distinctive to an individual, the way someone thinks, feels, behaves, someone's personality, a set of qualities that are shared by many people in a group, a country, etc., a set of qualities that make a place or thing different from other places or things. That I really liked, because I think character does set us apart. If you truly are a person of integrity, of character, it's going to set you apart. And so I like that one: a set of qualities that make a place or thing different from other places or things. So are you set apart by the way you run your business? And I guess I should say set apart in a good way, because you can also be set apart in a bad way. But as you look at your business, as you look over the past year, do you feel that you are set apart by the way you run your business? That you could say, yes, I feel like I have run this race with integrity, or I'm learning to run this race with integrity or with character. And are you set apart by the way you live your life? Here are some trustworthy sayings from the Bible. Proverbs. I love Proverbs. It just gives you these one-liners that are just good. So Proverbs 22:1. A good name is to be chosen rather than great riches, and favor is better than silver or gold. Matthew 7:17. So every healthy tree bears good fruit, but the diseased tree bears bad fruit. Proverbs 10:9. Whoever walks in integrity walks securely, but he who makes his way crooked will be found out. Proverbs 11:3. The integrity of the upright guides them, but the crookedness of the treacherous destroys them. And I think we could all, again, we're not going to name names here, but I think we could all look at people and see how their character destroyed them, or I should say their lack of character destroyed them. I think we look at, you can look in the Hollywood or athletes. I think of some of these young athletes who get these contracts, these multi-million-dollar contracts, but their character isn't deep enough yet to manage that, and they end up just being crashed on life because they don't know how to handle or manage the money they've been given, literally for some of them overnight. And so when you look at your business and you look at you're building it for the long haul, you're building it to last. You want it to be something that has good tracks, good train tracks, good foundation. And so to me, character represents maturity. The older we get, the more mature we should become. And character, in my mind, represents maturity. Now, kids can say things and then flip their mind around and change their mind, or they say they're going to do something, and then they decide not to, and it can be with a whim. Okay, I kind of expect that maybe out of a teenager, but out of an adult, I really don't expect that. I would expect that if someone gives me their word, and even as a teenager, I would challenge them to grow into that person of their word. But so the question is, am I growing in my personal character? And that's something each of you could ask yourself. Am I growing in my personal character? And is that growth being reflected in my relationships? And is that growth being reflected in my business? We're going to look at one more passage of scripture, Ephesians 4:11 through 16. Ephesians 4:11 through 16, it says, so Christ himself gave the apostles, the prophets, the evangelists, the pastors, and the teachers to equip his people for works of service, so that the body of Christ may be built up until we all reach unity in the faith and in the knowledge of the Son of God and become mature, attaining the whole measure of the fullness of Christ. Then we will no longer be infants tossed back and forth by the waves and blown here and there by every wind and teaching and by the cunning and craftiness of the people in deceitful scheming. Instead, speaking the truth in love, we will grow to become, in every respect, the mature body of him who is the head, that is Christ. From him, the whole body, joined and held together by every supporting ligament, grows and builds itself up in love as each part does its work. So when we think of character, when we think of growth, I personally believe that we have to apply some of the things that the Bible teaches us. But what it talks about is when we become mature, we're no longer just kind of blown around by the wind. And so when you become mature and you become a woman of character, then that's going to impact your business. That like I think Libby said, you're not going to just, every new fad, every new thing that comes along, you're not going to just jump on the bandwagon, but you're going to say, does that fit with the foundation that I'm laying for my business? Does that fit for where I want to go with my business, where I want my unit to go, or my future unit to go, for those of you who are working toward that? So we want to become mature. We want to become strong in believing in what we're doing, that we're not going to be just, thrown off by someone who's cunning or deceitful, but we're going to be able to grow. And then it also talks about in this passage, speaking the truth in love. Now, for any of you who are any kind of leader, you're going to have those strong conversations. And those are not ever fun. I don't know about you, but when you have to kind of go and talk to someone toe to toe, I don't know about you, but that's usually not a comfortable conversation. But they're necessary. And I think as a leader, if we have that character, we will have to have those hard conversations. Learning to speak the truth, and sometimes this is where I struggle, in love. I can speak the truth, but if I do it without love, it's not going to be very well received. I know I've told this to Libby and Marnie, but I know that one time I went to a college professor, and he was one of my professors, and he had really not been fair to us as students, and had showed favoritism to a bunch of students. And so I went and confronted him, which was not unusual for me. I was a very bold, strong personality back then too. So I went and confronted him, and he didn't say anything to me that day. But later he called me in his office, and I went back in, and he said, "Wilma, everything you said to me was true, but the way you said it denied your right to be heard." Wow, that was like really a powerful lesson for me. I realized that I had went in with all my pride and arrogance and just, I'm going to show him who's right, but I hadn't gone in love. I hadn't gone in humility. And so often we can say something, we can speak the truth, but if it's not in love, it's not going to be received very well. So we need to learn as we grow, as we become more mature, as we become more of a person of character, we will learn to speak the truth in love. And when we do that, it is more readily received by someone. And not always right away, because I don't know about you, but when someone confronts me and I'm in the wrong, so to speak, initially that's prickly. It's like, I don't want to hear that I'm wrong. None of us like to hear that we're wrong. But then if you've done it, if someone's talked to me about something in the right way, then even if I'm prickly at first, it's going to filter down to my heart, and I'm going to be like, yeah, you really were right, and I really was wrong. And so speaking the truth in love, that's part of being a person of character, part of being someone who's willing to stand up for what we believe and not let all this stuff slide that will not help build a strong foundation. Sadly, much of our culture has believed that character doesn't matter. I've even heard it stated by some politicians that character really doesn't matter. But that is not true. And people in leadership, what we do personally does impact our business. Our governor of Illinois, bless his heart, he has just been not a person of integrity, and he has made all these edicts that he expects all the people of Illinois to follow. But yet his own wife and his own family have not followed them. Like, for example, when we had the stay-at-home order, they would go to Wisconsin or they'd go to Florida, and he would say that all the rest of us had to stay at home. But when he was asked about that by a reporter, he said, he said, well, we've always felt that family should stay out of politics. And I'm thinking, that doesn't fly. If you are saying to everyone else that this is the rules that have to apply, but it doesn't apply to you or your family, I'm sorry, it takes away the weight of anything that you're saying to me. And it's the same with your business. If you're telling people, you need to follow through with your word, you need to do this, but you're not doing that yourself, that is going to impact you, and it's going to impact how people see you. We see many, many politicians nowadays that say one thing and do another. Like, for example, all these people that talk about, taking care of the poor, getting rid of all the police, but yet their houses are surrounded with security and officers and all this stuff. It's like, I have a hard time believing what they're saying. Our character does matter. It does matter in my personal life. It does matter in my business life. So when did this huge shift take place in our culture anyway, that character doesn't matter, and that what I do publicly doesn't matter, or what I do privately doesn't matter publicly? Well, really in 1998, where we can pinpoint a lot of this, was when Clinton was president, and he was tried for the sex scandal at the highest office, the US. He was the president at that time. The House of Representatives voted to impeach him, but he was acquitted of all the charges by the Senate. Sadder yet, in this scenario, CNN and USA Today stated at that time that he was the most admired man in the country. Now, knowing what I know about some of the media, let's just say that we have learned that not all media tells the truth. I used to believe that I could believe the media, but that's not always the case anymore. So I guess even what they say at that point, that he was the most admired man, that may or may not be true, but that's what they quoted him as saying. And I look at that, and I look at our nation where we are now, and I say that we are truly a nation that is in a major crisis of character. We are in a nation that is in a major crisis of character, because what some of our leaders say and what they do are totally incongruent with their lives. We don't want that to be said of us. We want our lives to be reflective of our business. We want our business to be reflective of my life, that my business should reflect my life. I honestly think that part of the reason people let people off the hook is because we don't want someone looking at our own lives. For example, if I point my finger at you, I have 3 fingers pointing right back at me. And so I think sometimes when we say it doesn't matter, it's because we don't want someone looking at my life with scrutiny, because I know what lurks underneath. Now, I'm not saying we all have to be perfect. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about us consistently living out the principles that we believe and letting all of our life reflect those principles. And I know that that's what Marnie wants for the Shine Bright family, is she wants that Shine Bright family to be businesses of integrity. She wants the people in all of the units that are in that Shine Bright family to be businesses of integrity and women of integrity. And so we want to hold each other accountable in a healthy way. I'm not saying everybody's getting up in everybody's business. We don't want that. But if we see someone doing something and they've said this and they're acting another way, that's when we need to have those conversations, speaking the truth in love with our fellow sisters, our fellow Mary Kay business people. But most importantly, having those conversations with ourselves. Wilma, are you doing what you said you're going to do? Are you following through with what I said I would follow through? Am I honoring my business? I think of Libby, and I just know Libby because obviously she's my daughter. But I remember at Christmas time, she had someone do an order, and it was a big order. I think it was Christmas time anyway. And for whatever reason, it didn't end up coming. And she ended up resending it again at a personal expense to her, just so that she could deliver she could follow through with that, because it was a gift for someone. Am I correct on that, Libby? It was a gift for someone. And so at personal expense to her, she followed through, even though she could have said, that's the post office problem. I put it in the mail. I've got my little receipt here. I could prove to you that I did it. She could have done that. But no, she was looking at the long haul. She said, yeah, it might cost me personally right now, but in the long run, it's going to benefit me and my business. And if I remember correctly, that person ended up booking some parties with you or something, and you ended up doing a lot more further down the road. So I think sometimes in business and in life, it's going to cost us. And so we've got to be willing to let it personally cost us sometimes so that I can live up to my word. I can back up what I'm doing, what I'm saying. And we want to become mature, no longer being tossed back and forth in that passage I talked about in Ephesians. We don't want to be infants anymore. We want to grow up. Marnie wants the Shine Bright family to be one of character. This comes by a decision, by an act of each of our individual wills, and then deliberate follow through to conform to our character. So I want to say that again, that comes by a deliberate decision to make my business conform to my character, what I believe to be true. Now, we all know Marnie's going to have a baby any day now. and so, that baby, yeah, we know that it's going to drink milk. That's what babies do. But if, 18 years from now, all that baby is drinking is milk, we would think that's pretty odd. Or we know that the baby's going to be in diapers because that's what a baby does. It poops, it pees, it doesn't know how to control anything yet. But if at age 5, that baby is still in diapers, somebody did something wrong there. Or there's something that is physiologically wrong with that child. So as you develop your business, yes, you're going to make mistakes. Yes, you might fumble. Yes, you might have to go back and say, oh, I'm sorry. And learn and grow. But as we become more mature in our business, as we become business women, then our character should be reflected in everything that we do. Not only in our business endeavors, but in my personal life. It needs to be the same in my business as in my personal life. This takes time, and it doesn't happen overnight. It happens with one decision at a time. So one decision at a time. I have a sister and she always says, just do the next right thing. And that's really what it's about. You just do the next right thing. And pretty soon you're going to develop some train tracks that are going to be very solid, very good, and it's going to give you some good benefits. So it's going to be one decision at a time and one leader at a time. It won't happen overnight. I remember once I was selling a washer and dryer, and I had put it on, it wasn't Craigslist, probably an ad in the paper for all I knew that long ago. But anyway, I was selling it, and I wanted to sell them as a pair, but I had someone who had come out and said, hey, I'll just take the washer. And so I said yes, and then it wasn't like 10 or 15 minutes later, someone called me and offered to buy both of them. Well, at that point, I went ahead and sold both of them. And I called the other person back and said, hey, someone wanted to buy it. And they said to me, and this stuck with me, and I have never forgot it, and it has shaped my character. They said, but you gave me your word. Ouch. That really hurt, because at that point even I was trying to be a woman of my word, but I allowed the temporary getting a few more bucks for the washer and dryer combo to outweigh my character of me giving my word to that person. I apologized profusely to them. And that rang in my ears, but you gave me your word. And man, that has shaped me. I haven't done that since. And there have been times that I have allowed something, my word, to cost me because I did give someone my word. And so as a person of character, your word becomes more important than probably anything. Because if I can't trust what you say, I can't trust you. And you are no longer a person of character. So that really stung me. And I learned a very valuable lesson that day, that my word is more important than a few dollars. And it has been something, now this has probably been 30 years, now, and I still can remember that example because it hit me. And so I determined that my word was going to mean something no matter what it cost me personally. And so remember that. You see, if we let the little things slide, they soon become big things. If we let the little things slide, they will soon become big things because, oh, if you can let that slide, well, this really doesn't matter either. And then that really doesn't matter either. And then pretty soon, nothing really matters. And it'll impact us. Our culture is a perfect example of that. As I said, we in America are suffering a character crisis because we've just said, oh, that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. But in reality, all those little things do matter, and they end up making a big difference. We cannot say, do as I say, not as I do. That's why when your kids watch you, they're not looking for perfection. They're looking for consistency. When your family members watch you, they're not looking for perfection. They're looking for consistency. When your unit members or people in your business look at you, they're not looking for perfection. They're looking for consistency. And when we blow it, that's when we own it and we say we're sorry, and then we move forward. So do you really want to be known as a woman of integrity? That's a question you need to ask yourself. Is that important to me? A woman of character. If you are a woman of character, when you give your word, it means something. And you stick by your word. And if you find out that you're wrong, then you go back and you apologize and you say, hey, I was wrong. Can we redo this? Or can we figure this out? Are you leading in a way that is congruent with who you are? Can we trust God with the bigger picture, even if for the moment in a particular situation or in an unreached goal, it can feel like a setback? Can I trust God with the bigger picture? Marnie and I were just talking the other day, and this came out, and so I actually wrote it down because I thought, oh, that was pretty good. I think I'm going to write this down. It's like, if I can get a no and be just as gracious as a yes, then I can be confident my character is growing. If I can get a no and be just as gracious as when I get a yes, then I can be confident that my character is growing. That doesn't mean that the no doesn't sting or that the no isn't a disappointment, but rather I can accept it with grace and I can continue to move forward. And then another thing I said, as Marnie and I were talking, is when I can fail successfully, I can be more confident that I can succeed successfully. You know, anybody can succeed, you know, but not everyone succeeds successfully. And you're thinking, what do you mean? Like I said, these young boys literally that are given these multi-million-dollar contracts for sports or females, but it tends to be more males. And they become millionaires overnight. They don't have the character. They don't have life yet experiences enough for them to navigate that kind of money, that kind of popularity, that kind of power that comes with money. And many of them shipwreck. So when I can fail successfully, I can be more confident that I can succeed successfully. And sometimes it takes a few quote unquote failures for me to build that integrity, for me to build that foundation and that character, and still be able to say, I'm okay in spite of that quote unquote failure. There's a book by Max Lucado called Failing Forward. And that's a good book that we learn to, when we quote fail, that it moves us forward, not sets us back. So will disappointments make you bitter or make you better? Will disappointments make you bitter or make you better? And the only difference is the letter I. What do I do with that failure? What do I do with that no, I don't want to be a Mary Kay consultant, or no, I'm not interested in buying your product. And some people can be very harsh in their no's and it stings. But the question is, am I going to become bitter or better? Am I going to choose to say, okay, That's not, person isn't meant to be my consultant, or at least at this time, but I'm going to be okay with that. I'm not going to let that just sideline me or set me into depression and put me in my corner and not ask anyone else in the future. I'm going to just say, okay, there are other people out there, and I'm going to find them. So will I trust that God is more concerned about my character, the making of a person, more than he is the making of a business or the making of a goal or a particular situation? Trusting that God is more concerned about you as a person than he is even about your business or a particular goal that you have in mind. Now, I'm not giving way in this for sloppy leadership or a sloppy business. If we run a sloppy business, we're going to get sloppy results. So I'm not making excuses for not doing the work. I'm just saying, let us be people of character, and character means follow through. Bobby, you said about your dad, that he was a follow through. He could trust him. He was hardworking. That's part of character, is being a hard worker, being diligent, following through, being a person of our word. So I'm not talking about sloppy business character. I'm talking about just being a person of character. How you lead is how you mentor. How you lead is how you mentor. What you live is what people see. Character is more caught than taught. I can tell you all about character, but if I'm not living it myself and you find that out, you're not going to take one word I say seriously. Character is more caught than taught. So are you creating a culture of kindness in your business? Are you creating a culture of kindness in the Shine Bright family? Is the Shine Bright family benefiting more from you being in it, or are you more of a detriment? And if you are, what can you do to change that? None of us are stuck. We can make those changes to make us a person of character, a woman of character. Are you modeling integrity in all of your business transactions? Is the way you run your business the way you want others to treat you? So those are some things to think about. My husband and I do a nightly devotional every night before we go to bed. And we had one June 26th that I thought, oh, this will be good for sharing with this about character. The title of it was called Enough is Enough. And there was a Bible verse that said, better one handful with tranquility than two handfuls with turmoil, with toil and chasing after the wind. And then it says, our culture tells us that bigger is better. To go big or go home. How many have said that? I've even said that myself. We chase after a better job, a fatter paycheck, and a pricier neighborhood. We can push our kids to achieve all A's, first chair, and varsity status. It's a challenge to align our calendars and efforts with God's priorities. When we trade God's definition of blessing with the world's, we find ourselves discouraged and exhausted. Before taking on another commitment or tackling another goal, ask yourself if you're chasing after the wind or wisdom. Are you feeding your pride or your soul? Will adding one more thing bring peace to your home or wear you down even more? Let the Lord guide your schedule, your heart, and your household. Give your family the gift of rest today. Find freedom from striving for more. Discover God's love that brings true peace. With him, you always will have enough. I know in Mary Kay world, I've been around it enough to know that there's always another carrot to chase. There's always another prize, always another goal, always another level, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think we do it. I'm motivated by goals. I'm motivated by prizes. I'm motivated by those things. There's nothing wrong with that in and of itself. But I think it's important to realize, what season am I in and what goal is realistic for me now? When is enough enough, and for what season? I asked Marnie if I could use her as an example. You know, we were talking about the end of the fiscal year, and then you guys have, I forget what the name of your next Mary Kay event is, but where you get your prizes and you get your goals and you get all those things. And then come the questions. Well, what are you doing? Where are you at? And, you know, for those that who know you and that they know that you were striving for something and then you didn't quite get it, or for those that think you should be in a different place than you are. And so choosing, I think of Marnie in the sense of becoming a national sales director. I know that that is her long-term goal, that she wants to be a national sales director, and that's a very worthwhile goal. And so for her, she needs to continue building a good foundation, doing the basics, growing her own personal unit, as well as encouraging others to grow their units. But what sets us apart in determining our own goals is this a goal for me right now in this season to full-fledged pursue? Or realizing that this might not be the season to go full steam ahead for pursuing a national sales director. For example, she's having another baby right now, and she's got still many kids that are young. And so you have to look at the goal and say, is this a goal for me to go full steam on, or continue to build my foundation building blocks that will eventually get me to that goal? And I think having the wisdom to know, that's part of character, knowing what to say yes to and what to say no to. What is going to be beneficial for me and my family and me personally for the long haul in this season, and what I need to say yes to and what I say no to. Our culture also has fed us the lie that we can say yes to everything. The truth is, we can't say yes to everything. When I married my husband, Chuck, I said no to every other man. And if I didn't, well, our marriage probably isn't going to last very long. Fact is, we cannot have everything. When I say yes to having kids, that means I say yes to all the fun pleasures that I just want to do, that I could spend all the money on myself, because now I have to spend money on my children. So we got to understand that saying yes to some things means saying no to others. That's part of character. That's part of maturity. It's part of growing up. Great leaders pay attention. We pay attention to our own limits. We pay attention to where we are in life. We pay attention to what our parameters are. And that changes with seasons. It changes as I get older, I can't do what I could do 10 years ago. So I have to pace myself differently than I did even as a 50-year-old, now that I'm 61. So I have to learn to pace myself. Poor leaders seek attention. Great leaders pay attention. Poor leaders seek attention. There's a big difference there. And I'm just going to conclude with, I found these 6 pillars of character, and it was from an organization called Character Counts. And so we're just going to talk about 6 pillars of character. And if you use an acronym, it's terrific, except there's no vowels. So it's TRRFCC. TRRFCC. So first one is trustworthiness. Be honest in communications and actions. Don't deceive, cheat, or steal. Be reliable. Do what you say you'll do. Have the courage to do the right thing. Build a good reputation. Be loyal. Stand by your family, your friends, your country. Keep your promises. R, respect. Treat others with respect and follow the golden rule. Be tolerant and accepting of differences, yet stand up for what you believe. And I want to emphasize that with our whole tolerance culture right now. There's so much tolerating everything that we're losing ourselves. Standing up for what we believe personally is also important. Use good manners, not bad language. Be considerate of others' feelings. Don't threaten, hit, or hurt anyone. Deal peacefully with anger, insults, and disagreements. The next R, responsibility. Do what you're supposed to do. Plan ahead. Be diligent. Persevere. Do your best. Use self-control. Be self-disciplined. Think, before you act. That's always a good one. Be accountable for your words, your actions, and your attitudes. Set a good example for others. Choose a positive attitude. Make healthy choices. F, fairness. Play by the rules. Don't be stealing someone else's person in your unit. Play by the rules. Take turns and share. Sounds like we're in kindergarten again, right? Be open-minded. Listen to others. Don't take advantage of others. Don't blame others carelessly. Treat all people fairly. C is for caring. Be kind. Be compassionate. Show you care. Show empathy. Express gratitude. Forgive others and show mercy. Help people in need. Be charitable and altruistic. And then the last one is citizenship. Do your share to make your home, school, community, and greater world better. Cooperate. Get involved in community affairs. Stay informed. Vote. Be a good neighbor. Obey laws and rules. Respect authority. Protect the environment. And volunteer. So that's terrific in helping you build character.